One day when I was coming from work, I met with my son, the lastborn. He was crying and I asked him, "What is it?" He said, "Dad fell in the bathroom." When I went, I found a crowd of people in my apartment. His body had not been taken away.
Let's understand most of them are caused by a sickness that would otherwise need to be taken care of. And we also know even people who are suffering mental health issues and are even under medication. Some of the medications that they are taking, one of the side effects is being suicidal.
Hello there and welcome to yet another episode of Kalekia's Health Moments, where as usual we live healthy one story at a time. Today we have an amazing guest who has agreed to hang out with me and to share her story of losing two members of her family. Welcome.
Hi. Majina
I
yangu
am
naitwa Rahab
Rahab
Kamau.
Kamau. I was born in Murang'a, raised in Gatundu,
Nikalelewa Gatundu na
and
pia
was married there.
nikaolewa huko.
I was raised in a strict Christian family. From home, it was school, then church, and back home again. I was not exposed to the worldly things. We used to be told by our parents that men are bad, we shouldn't go near them. That's what they used to tell us. When I was a young girl, a teenager, I was married when I was a teenager. I met my husband called James Kamau. At first, he talked very rudely to me, but I saw that he was not as bad as the others. This one was a good person. We went somewhere and he bought me and some other girls some buns. So I saw that he was a good person. He told me to escort him, and from a distance, I showed him my home. We talked well, I liked him, and I saw that he was not like others who are said to be bad. We went, and when we got to a certain place, he decided to show me his place. When we reached, we found the little brother. He was told to cook tea and pancakes. I couldn't leave the pancakes. We took tea and ate the pancakes. They started showing me some pictures. During our times, we didn't have TV or stuff like that. We had albums. By the time I realized, it was almost 7 p.m. He told me not to worry, he'd take me home. I asked him, "Where are you going to take me at this time?" Now I didn't go. He told me, "Don't worry, we are going to stay together." I didn't know that staying together meant getting married. I had just seen a nice young man and I followed him. We stayed. But you see, I was just young. The next day, people started asking where the young girl was. They started looking for me. People know each other in our hometown, even from far away distances. When my parents started inquiring about my whereabouts, it was said that I was spotted with another young man. They even identified the young man's mother and father. So my parents made arrangements on how they'd come to pick me up. When we had that, we woke up at night and went to Nairobi. I got pregnant where we used to stay in Nairobi at a place called Rongai. So my parents said that since I had gone and had already stayed, there was no problem, that I should be told I should go home. So I went when I was 8 months pregnant. So that's how I became a mother. I got my firstborn who was called Henry, and then later I got another boy called Kevin. I stayed well and I enjoyed married life. I loved my husband and I loved the people from my husband's place to date. When my second-born was 6 years old and the firstborn was 7 years old, my husband fell in the bathroom. I used to work at a Valentine's Growers. He wasn't critically ill, but he had a kidney problem. One day when I was coming from work, I met with my son, the last-born. He was crying and I asked him, "What is it?" He said, "Dad fell in the bathroom." When I went, I found a crowd of people in my apartment. His body had not been taken away. You know, there's no member of his family. His wife is not there. I went straight. I saw him and I confirmed that it was true that he was dead. I was in great shock. I did not know that I would stand again. I cried. I was saying it was better that my sons would have died. I'd give birth to others. You see, I wasn't even pitying the children. Things changed. They never went back to being the same. Things become tough. From the time your husband dies, your things will have to start from square one. You usually say that you have a friend, church, in-laws, my parents, my brothers, and you think that they share your sorrow with you. But that's not the case. At that time, your friends will run away from you. Your church members will leave you. I was in the praise team and I was very active. My husband hadn't even passed on for 1 year. They said that they saw me chatting with a man. We were holding hands, meaning that I had already started an affair. They said, the church men, the pastor, that group. Now I told them that I will not defend myself, but my God is going to defend me. And even if there was somebody who was greeting me and holding on to my hand, you don't know whether it was my brother. I told them that the person who reported to them had an ill intention. And I said I am no longer attending church. My support system was my brother-in-law. He's like my father. When I have a problem, I run to him. No, I didn't go. I didn't have money. And nobody guided me about it. I just stayed like that. I became thin, that if you saw me and were told that I had 2 children, you wouldn't believe. A small girl, but it was because of stress. Because I was asking myself, where will I start and where will I finish? I've told you that some people are not so good, but it's not all of them. Some are good, some godly, some pitiful, merciful, loving, but some people are not good. I saw that the only help I could get was moving from where I used to stay, to distance myself from my old friends. I stayed for 4 years without going to church. I looked for new friends and I moved on. I took care of my kids and they became big. Since I had stayed in Kiambu for long, I would move again to change the environment. I went to Githunguri. I used to come from Kiambu and I would go to sell the clothes at Githunguri. I saw that it was a good place. When I went there, my sons did not want to join me. I raised up my older son in Kiambu. He is called Henry Wanjohi. He was the firstborn. He went to school, cleared, and he joined the workforce like any other young man because he became of age. When somebody clears school, he attended driving schools, he did a welding course, and now he started working. When he was 22 years, he made friends with a young lady. He even showed her to me. I don't know what happened. They had a disagreement. My last born, Kevin, who has also cleared school and had gone to hustle in Kiambu, because I took him to Petan's College, where he attended a computer course and driving classes. He also began hustling. At that time, I was also selling clothes. He told me to go, he'd add me some cash to Isli, where I used to get my clothes. It was on a Monday. I knew that I had a light at Kiambu from Githunguri, and also my other son was there. When I alighted where they used to work, an elderly man called me. He's someone we knew, and he also used to know my husband. He told me in Kikuyu, "Come, Gasheri." I was told that Wadan is the sister to your husband. He told me, talk to her first. My sister-in-law had a shop nearby. I asked myself, what is it? So I crossed the road and I found young men seated in groups. I asked them where Henry was. They kept quiet. And what about Karanja? They looked at each other. One told me that Henry got sick and was taken to the hospital. Another woman who is my friend held me and told me, let's go. So we went to my sister-in-law's place. We didn't find her. This lady who's my friend told me to accept things as they were. I didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't know whether it was Karanja or Henry. So I asked her, what is it? She told me, no, let's go. She took a taxi and we went towards the direction of the hospital. In Kiambu Hospital, the mortuary is situated at the front. I saw some young men coming and my Karanja was there. I saw now that things were bad. They were not good. I told the driver to stop the car so that we could alight. So I went towards the direction of the young men. I saw Karanja, my young son. I held him and I asked him, what is wrong? He couldn't talk. He was just crying. Now things were bad because they were at the mortuary. So we went back to my lady friend's place. They talked to me for a long time. They consoled me. Then we went to her workplace, and that's when I asked what happened. From there, I started calling my relatives. No, I was so annoyed. I couldn't talk to her. Even if she came here and said she didn't want or didn't think, my child was already dead. So what were we going to talk about? He was a young man who was always happy. We never used to eat buns. He is the one who made us not eat them. There's somewhere where the buns or mandazis used to be cooked. We told him to go and get us some mandazis. So he told us he would bring us the mandazis, but he wouldn't eat them. So we asked him why, and he told us because he'd seen the man wipe mucus off his nose and touch the mandazis. So nobody ate the mandazis again. We stopped eating them. He was always a jolly person, also full of jokes. There's another time I told him, together with the other boy, once we reached Kiambu town, I'd buy him some samosa, the sausage and soda instead of chips. Chips are not good. Their father wasn't there. They were a bit older. He said he stopped eating samosas since the day some men were caught carrying a dog and they were asked where they were taking it, and they said they were going to cut it up, probably for samosas. We usually remember that incident. It makes us very happy. He was a jokeful person. His father was also like that. We talked, but he was stressed. Even as old as he was, he would ask me, Mom, am I the only one who is going to stay without sisters and brothers? Why don't you look for another kid? He'd go to my sister-in-law and tell her to advise me to get another child. Am I going to stay alone? I can tell people if your husband has died or your children or both and you are left alone, there are some who their husbands will die and they will be chased away. If you're a woman and you have been left, there's nowhere else you're going to get happiness like what you had with your husband, even if you get another. They say that when you're left by your husband when you're young, you can't get another husband. There are no two people who are alike. Your husband was special. If my child is dead and I give birth to others, they will not be the same as the other ones.
My name is Nick Mbaya, a clergyman by profession and also a practicing counselor. And I do see individuals, I do see couples, and I do see families and also groups in therapy concerning the counseling issues that they may have. And so in a nutshell, that is what I do. Another scenario that we may deal with in terms of loss is death by suicide. And this is something that is especially very traumatizing, and the grief is just unbearable for this family. And the reason is because suicide is a permanent solution to a temporal problem. It is something, if they would have opened up, they would have been helped. If they have talked about it, a solution would have been found. It's different from the other we have discussed when there's terminal illness, where you have these meetings, you can talk and chat out the way forward and end the journey on a high note. On this one, there are no goodbyes. It's usually done in secret. People only either discover a suicide note, or maybe there was even no note at all. So people are left with the whys. Why did they have to do it? Why didn't they talk to us? If only they would have sought for help, would have been there for them. And therefore it becomes a bit tough because of the nature in which it happens. However, let us know that people don't die by suicide for fun. Most of these situations, people are suffering. There are all manner of mental disorders that people suffer, things like depression and many other situations that are mental health disorders that people suffer. Some of them are unbearable losses. Some of them is shame that people can't just seek to rise from that shame and to be able to face the society tomorrow. Let's understand most of them are caused by a sickness that would otherwise need to be taken care of. And we also know even people who are suffering mental health issues and are even under medication. Some of the medications that they are taking, one of the side effects is being suicidal. And so once we understand that this happens, then sad and painful as it is, we will not judge the person harshly, and we will be able to find in our lives room to accept that it happened, seek for help, and be able to move on beyond the episode of losing our loved one to suicide.
It is only God that is your closest friend. It is only God that cannot leave you. Trust in God, love God, seek God's face.